steady. The admit, how do I
Oh, just this thing.
just
Just here.
enter?
Yeah.
No.
You can just click on it.
Oh,
Like that.
okay, good. Good, in
And-
case any more come up.
Yeah. Move forward and backward.
All right. Okay. All right. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to Plant It and They Will Come, How to Attract Pollinators to Your Gardens. We have a lot of fun things in the presentation tonight, and each one of these butterflies here has a story, so we'll be getting to that just momentarily. But before we get into the actual getting all these butterflies, we're going to talk a little bit about how you prep your garden to get there. All righty. I'm trying to get to the slide. Huh. It's not advancing. Which way? Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay. So today's topic, you may know a little bit or a whole lot about the 9 principles of Florida-friendly landscaping, but they're very important to establishing your pollinator garden. So we'll talk about that. We're going to take a good look at Florida's pollinators, and there are a lot of them, and why they're important and why we want to help them. And we'll look at some planning and design. So first of all, Florida-friendly landscaping. The most important thing is right plant, right place. You don't want to put in a plant if it needs sun. Don't plant it where it's going to get too much shade. Know the pH of your soil. Some plants are acid loving and they will not thrive if your soil is neutral or even alkaline. So it's always a good idea to, when you're planting, check out your environment, the access to water. Also, for the soil test, we do them right at Minor Road, and it's free, and we get back to you in about a week. Okay. Whoops. There. So getting back to that, we do the soil test. It's free of charge, and it will give you a great insight into your soil and will help you in planting just the right plants. Watering efficiently, we adhere to the St. John's Management District for water. Water once in the winter and twice a week in the summer. Use that knowledge that it will help you when you are, if we've had a week of rain and then just turn it off. But if it's dry, twice a week in the summer and once a week in the winter. And you can check out the St. John's Water Management District online for more information. They have a lot of good information there. Fertilize appropriately, and by that we mean less is usually more. You don't want to over fertilize. You don't want to fertilize right now because you're going to force new growth. New growth is tender and then it's going to get frozen. So you want to fertilize appropriately. And if you're using anything and it's spills on your hardscape, on your hard surfaces, get it into your turf, get it into the flower beds, but don't wash it down your driveway and into the storm water because that's very bad. Mulch, 3 inches of mulch. Mulch does a lot of good. I have a personal favorite. I love pine straw because it feeds the soil so well. They all do, but pine straw is great, but about 3 inches, it will help your soil retain the moisture, and it also feeds your soil, and that makes your plants a whole lot happier. You can also attract wildlife with your plantings. A good example is beautyberry, and that it's a the pollinators love it when it's flowering in the spring, and then the birds love it in the fall when all those ripe berries are just there for the taking. So there's a lot of different plants, but that one really stands out to me for that. Integrated pest management. Basically, this theory says that we should use cultural and physical controls first before using pesticides or insecticides. That kind of thing should be a last resort. And we'll get more into the integrated pest management, but it can be as simple as you've got caterpillars on something you don't want, you pick them off, but we'll talk about that later. Recycle your yard waste. Use your mower clippings on your grass. It feeds the grass. Keep your leaves or use them in your beds. We also want to reduce stormwater runoff. So making sure that we're getting the best possible uses there. And protect your waterfront. If you're on a pond, know the plants that you can have there. Make sure you're not using, insecticides, pesticides within, 2 feet of the pond. You don't want that washing off and getting into the water. So in a nutshell, these are the 9 principles, and they are available on UF IFAS. Just go in and search UF IFAS 9 principles. Now, we'll talk about insects, and they are the most abundant organisms on the planet. There's 13,000 known insects alone in Florida, and I think every single one of them wants to bite me at times, but it's okay. Only 1% are actually the bad guys. They'll eat your plants, they'll eat your food, they'll bite your animals, fabric. A couple that come to mind are the spotted lanternfly, which is terribly invasive, the Japanese beetle, and the tomato hornworm. 99% are beneficial. Those are the pollinators. They're doing the aerating, the decomposing. They also are a good biocontrol for weeds and pests. So that in a nutshell, we see 751,000 insects, and then the plants, 69,000 different fungi. There's a lot going on. Oops. Oops. Whoops. Okay. Hmm, I don't know. I'm not getting it. No. Oh, got it. Okay. So, all right. Trying to let our online friends in, and there we go. All right. So what is an insect? 6 jointed legs, 3 body regions, the head, thorax, and abdomen, a pair of antennae, and 1 to 2 pair of wings. And there are 2 different kinds of metamorphosis that these will go through. One is incomplete, and that's kind of cool because it's simply the egg hatches, and it's a nymph, and it looks just like the adult, except it's mini size, and it just grows to adulthood, never really changing. Now, complete metamorphosis is where the insect lays the egg, then the larva or the caterpillar forms. They eat and eat and eat, and then they form a chrysalis or a cocoon, and then eventually you get a butterfly. So those are the 2 ways that insects grow. Oops. Yeah. I don't know, SETI.
When this happens, just ignore it. And
Ignore it. Okay.
if you click on it, and
Okay.
press on-
There we go. All right. So pollinators are what's known as a keystone species. And by definition, that's a species on which other species in an ecosystem largely depend. And if removed, the ecosystem suffers. It's a necessary component of sustaining life on Earth for all species. They clean the air, they stabilize soils, and support other wildlife. So 75 to 90% of all angiosperms, and an angiosperm is simply a flowering plant, rely on pollinators for reproduction. A couple that don't, tomato plants, for example, are self-pollinating, and dandelions produce seeds without fertilization, which explains why there's so many of them. So that's more than 180,000 different plant species that depend on pollination. So Florida's pollinators, we'll talk about these guys first. The bees, butterflies, moths, wasps, beetles, flies, and ants. But there's more. It's not just insects. 200,000 species of animals can also act as pollinators. And of these, most of them are hummingbirds, bats, and small mammals such as mice. In fact, there's a distinction about the pollinators that are animals. They're called a non-flying mammal pollinator, officially NFMP. And that simply means that it could be a marsupial, a primate, or a rodent, such, as a mouse. Or those cute little squirrels that you get so annoyed with, they're out there pollinating too. So but together they fertilize more than 300,000 species of plants. So that was very cool. So, and as we've all heard, the bee pollinators are on the decline. The bee populations are declining. There's a 35% decline in butterflies. 1 in 4 native bees are imperiled. The monarch population, and I know we've heard a lot about this, that it's had an 80% decline since 2005. We're getting some new numbers in March of 2026, but overall, the migration to Mexico was better this year. We had the counts were higher, but they're still below where they were. And the Western migration is the ones that go to California it's just down. So there's a lot to try to help these out. The information came from I'm not sure if I'll say it correctly, xerces.org, and that is an organization dedicated to insects. Um, and they have top-notch information about all of these declines. And we wonder why it's happening. Some of it's modern agricultural practices, pesticides misused or overused. Another big one is the habitat fragmentation. We're simply running out of habitat. We're running out of land because as more land's developed, these insects are displaced, have no place to go. Climate change to a degree, we're seeing a lot of extremes in temperatures that can also alter the environment for the insect or pollinator. With all the development, there's also lower diversity of the different kinds of flowers because as everything's getting paved with concrete, there's less opportunity for things to grow. Non-native species are a big problem because they can compete with the native species and they're not as valuable and they will just overrun the native species. And the problem is that the pollinators that are here are relying on the native plants, not the ones that are not of use to them, which are invasive or not native. There's also disease. Many of you probably have heard of OE, which affects monarch butterflies. And that one, it's an infection, it spreads, and that is also causing those numbers to decline. And then there's predators, or as it's called, direct anthropogenic mortality. That also means that it can get hit by a car, it can be, electrocuted by a power line, just any of these things that just will knock out a pollinator. So I thought that was pretty interesting. There's parasites. I've seen monarch caterpillars that get parasitized, and you'll see a string coming out of the poor caterpillar, and he's just now has become a vessel to support all the wasp eggs that are in there. I know it's really sad, but um, it they all kind of serve a purpose, although it's a little tough on the butterfly lovers to see that, but yeah, but they will do that. Coastal disturbances, a hurricane can really mess things up. Uh, Pollution, we've been hearing that for so many years, that will do it. And of course, misuse of chemicals. If you're down to your last resort and you have to spray, um, make sure you're not doing it on a windy day, and make sure you're getting exactly what you're trying to do, because if you overspray or the wind gets it, that's going to affect places that you had no idea you were even treating. So you need to be very careful there. But what can we do? So far, it's been a little bit of doom and gloom, but there are things we can do. We can provide food, water, and shelter. Food can be nectar, host plants, pollen. The host plants are really important because each of these insects knows its host plant, and they will not lay eggs on something that isn't their host, because intrinsically they know that the egg will become a larva. That larva needs to eat. So it always amazes me how I have in my one garden, it's a ton of different plants, how the monarch will always find the milkweed. It's incredible. Um, also having puddlers, or even if you have a pond, that's great, and a bird bath. All of that provides water, so that's good. And shelter. Have a lot of plants. Use your leaf litter. You can use some rocks and maybe even dead wood. You'd be amazed how many insects that can house. So we're building a pollinator bed. So here are the guidelines. To build one, you need, of course, right plant, right place, shelter, water, native plants, again, integrated pest management best practices, abundance and diversity. And to me, that says buy a lot of plants and then get some more. Favorite thing. So, and you want to have a good variety of host and nectar plants, things that will be blooming. The plant doesn't have to bloom continually, but if one plant blooms in the spring, have another one behind it that's going to bloom in the summer and the fall to kind of keep the pollen available. And think about floral colors and even tier plantings. This month's The Good Gardener, which is the newsletter of the Master Gardener volunteers, just featured an article about vertical planting, which you can do a lot of different things, even if you have a small space. So tiered plantings would be a lot of fun for this. So right plant, right place. We touched on it a little bit. We have pH requirements, sunlight changes, is it getting morning sun? Is it getting evening sun? There's a huge difference. And if it's getting afternoon sun for 6 hours, it's going to cook. So make sure you have a plant that likes that much sun. Moisture requirements, group plants together. I'm jumping down a little bit, but group plants that have the same needs. You don't want to put a thirsty plant next to one that only wants to be watered once a month. It just won't work. They won't be happy together. Salt tolerance, that's particularly important here. on the island. And we have a book that's the Florida Friendly Guide to Landscaping and Landscape Plants. And it has a chart in it that will tell you if your plant is salt tolerant. So again, that's at UF IFAS, but you can find out information about that. And plant according to size at maturity. You don't want to crowd the plants. And sometimes if they look too small, just think about where they'll be 2 months from now, and then you'll know you're okay. So provide shelter. You can bunch your grasses, use wildflower seed packets, create an area of undisturbed tall grasses, and don't cut back your past plants until spring. And right now, that's a really good idea because if you had cut them 2 weeks ago, they would have sprouted some new growth just in time to have a hard freeze that will knock them back again. So, and keep those because it's particularly your ones that are seeding because the birds will enjoy that as well. You could have a rock pile or a rock arrangement, dead wood, even a log or a little brush pile. Open dirt is sometimes great. Certain pollinators, certain butterflies will get nutrients from the dirt. And of course, there are commercial pollinator houses. I haven't used one personally, but it is an option. And of course, reduce your lawn monoculture if you can. The grass really does not do anything for pollinators. You need some, but if you can enlarge that flower bed, plant some more natives, or even try to use some of the alternatives to grass for ground cover. It's also a good idea. And of course, leave your leaves. So, and provide water. You can do this in a variety of ways. Um, you can have little puddlers. I have some that stand on a stake and it's a little bowl, but you have to put some rock or something in the bowl so that they don't drown when they're going into the water. So those are handy. You can see in some of the pictures, they have rocks or things for them to sit on. I'm really intrigued by the bowl in the bottom picture to the right, because I think that would be a cool idea. And you might wonder about, well, won't that become a breeding ground for mosquitoes? But you can put some dunks in it, and dunks will only do away with the mosquitoes. They're safe to use around other plants and animals. So that would solve the problem there because you really don't want to have a mosquito breeding ground right in your yard. Okay. All right, so plant native. Habitats, of course, are dependent on native plants and they're adapted to our climate and soil. The balance of nature, you reducing the need for outdoor pest control if you're planting native. They are the best sources of nectar and pollen for our native pollinators. You don't want to have invasive plants that are not supporting our wildlife. That's one of the most important things. It won't eliminate your aesthetic appeal. You'll see how pretty it can be. You're also preserving a little bit of Florida by keeping things native. And remember, these things all support our natural areas. And of course, natives are easier to maintain simply because they require less fertilizer. They're used to it here. You're not having to baby them through certain weather or drought or anything because uh, they are native. It, they also help you conserve water because usually they only need it to get established and then they're good. And it improves the water quality because you're using less fertilizer. And your natives can outcompete the weeds. That's another important thing. In the photo at right, I have a sunshine mimosa, which is a great ground cover. Unfortunately, it does go dormant when it gets cold. So it's a little dormant now, but it will reward you in the spring with a ground cover that is lush and green, and then it gives these cute little powder puff flowers. The pollinators love them. I have a patch of this, and there's always bumblebees or fritillary butterflies. They really does a nice thing for the pollinators. Avoid pesticides and reduce your chemical use. Integrated pest management that we talked about before is a comprehensive approach to managing your plant pests. And it uses a lot of different ways to do it. First of all, it's a good idea to correctly identify your pest, so that if you have to put something on it, you're using the right thing. Um, you can manage your pests by using the biological controls, which can be ladybugs. We'll see a slide of ladybugs next, but lacewings are also very good at that, eating bad things. I had some eggs that came in on another plant that I was when I was doing raising some butterflies, and I actually got to see the eggs, and it was really cool. And then I got them outside where they could do their job better. And other things, you can hand pick. That's a mechanical physical control. If you're overrun with a certain caterpillar, and you just don't want them all, you can put them in a bucket of soapy water, or you can put them in a Ziploc and humanely in the freezer, put them in the freezer for 24 hours. I don't do that anymore because I just live and let live. And I'll talk a little bit more about that when you see one of the critters that I've gotten fond of. So if you have to use pesticides, only when necessary, apply it in the evening, because the wind may be less. Don't don't spray when it's real windy because it's going to go places you don't want it. Don't spray the blooms because think about that. This is the first place the pollinator's going, and you don't want to kill them. And opt for a liquid rather than the powder because that sticks to the hairs on the bumblebees and all the other good critters. So here's one of my favorites about ladybugs. They're so calm and peaceful. It's an interesting comment, not just about the ladybugs, but how when you look at your garden from a distance, you really are only seeing color and maybe the heights of plants and how it's laid out. But when you're working in it, trimming or potting, there's a whole society. It's just brimming with activity. It's the coolest thing to see that. So I love this about the ladybugs. So what do you want to attract? You can choose a butterfly. There's more than 160 species in Florida, and there's a bunch that migrate through. But why choose just one when you can choose 2, 3, 5, 10? Yes, just get the host plants and they will come. And that's a very important part because the egg will hatch I shouldn't say hatch, but the egg will become larva, which is the caterpillar. The caterpillar needs to eat. So host plants are very important. And a nectar plant, because that will attract the butterfly you want to the garden just for a drink of the nectar plant. So between doing that and host plants, you'll be in really, really good shape. So now we'll get to the really fun part, which is all these butterflies. And this one is the zebra longwing. And I think they are so beautiful. Just an aside on it, they like passion flower. And I thought, I have passion flower. Why am I only getting fritillaries? Why am I not getting a longwing? The longwings have been flying around. They come for the nectar, but apparently my passion vine is in the sun and they prefer a shady spot. So next year I'm putting up some passion vine in the shade. We'll see what we get. All right, so a couple of my favorite butterflies, the giant swallowtail, and they like citrus. Um, they'll do rue and a couple other things, but they really do like citrus. So I have planted fruit trees, lemon, and lime, pretty much so that I get these butterflies. And they will lay their egg, and it becomes the larva, and it's the grossest caterpillar you'll ever see. But it's also really cool because it looks like bird poop. And that's because no self-respecting bird wants a beak full of bird poop. So they'll kind of leave it alone. So it's a great thing. They also have um, I have a picture of one later, but they also have this defense mechanism where, like, if they feel trouble's coming, they'll emit an odor and their little horns come up, red ones. And so they let everybody know, don't come near me. I tested it out one day and I did rub the back of one, and yeah. Um, Oops. Yeah, they won't do that again because he was not happy. And then he made a couple of his friends unhappy, and it was all happening. But so that's a cool way of keeping the predators away. The black swallowtails, they like dill and parsley. I'll show you a slide soon on uh what they look like coming out of their chrysalis, the eastern tiger swallowtail, and the pipevine. And I'm sorry you can't see some of the pictures great because of the screen, but they all have different host plants. The eastern tiger likes tulip tree, ash or cherry or sweet bay. The pipevine swallowtail likes Dutchman's pipevine. So those are the host plants, and you need to have those to get it. The nectar, they're all pretty wide open. Um, there, that's better. Thank you. Um, uh, they're all pretty wide open. They all will love milkweed for their nectar plant. Honeysuckle lantana, make sure that it's native and not the non-native. So they'll do really well. They even bee balm is a favorite. Ironweed, honeysuckle, azalea. They'll all love those nectar plants. Those they're less picky about, but the host plant definitely needs to be what they can use. Okay, cloudless sulfurs, cabbage whites, sulfurs, and southern dogface. I have experience with the cloudless sulfur, and we'll look at some pictures later of those caterpillars, but they like senna, and it just so happens that I have senna bicapitularis in my backyard. So, okay, I won't tell that now. I'll wait till the slide. But anyway, they do like senna, and I see them more in the late summer to fall. But their nectar plants are cardinal flower, hibiscus, again, lantana, milkweed. Um, I found that all butterflies seem to love salvia. I have a lot of it, and in the summer, it is just a hotbed of activity between the bumbles and the butterflies. So the orange sulfur, some of these like wild sweet clover, southern dogface, I don't think I've ever seen, but they like false indigo and clover, soybean. So knowing those plants will help you get to your where you get them attracted in your yard. Now, this is another one. The hair streaks, harvester, eastern tailed blue, the gray hair streak, and the spring azure. I didn't think I had ever seen one of these, but I discovered that Lespedeza is a host plant. So I'm going to start paying a lot more attention to my Lespedeza in hopes of maybe attracting one of these beauties. Um, the harvester is carnivorous. on Wally maple aphids. So I thought that was interesting. He's one of the few things that eats aphids besides ladybugs. So, all right, let's and the little meadowlark, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. They like herbs in the aster family, vanilla leaf, yellow thistle, climbing hempvine. The nectar plants can be asters, yarrow, tickseed, mist flower, which we have some here with us tonight. Their habitat tends to be wetlands, sand hills, so maybe not exactly. They are common through Florida, but not in the Keys. So, so that's another beauty you may encounter in the yard. Now to my favorite group, the brushfoot butterflies. And they're called brushfoot because these butterflies have shorter front legs and the legs are hairy. So that's why they're called that. Viceroys like apple, aspen, cherry, plum, poplar, and willow trees, which explains why I don't have them in my yard because I have none of those host plants. Makes sense. Um, they will even use aphid honeydew, rotting fruit, among other things, to be their nectar. But they also like regular plants too. The monarch, of course, everybody's favorite, milkweed, milkweed, and more milkweed for those guys. They will eat you out of house and home in a heartbeat. Um, the Gulf fritillary, that host plant is passion vine, really a cool butterfly orange on the top. When the wings are up, you're seeing that silver and brown. Uh, Passion flower is their host, but they will take nectar from just about anything. So the zebra longwing, again, passion flower, and I've heard is it fire? It's not firebush. I think, yeah, maybe it is firebush that they also like they like that for nectar. So that's kind of an overview of those guys. Then we go into the skippers, and we see a lot of these in the fall. And again, I think their favorite is salvia. I mean, I just see them all the time on those. And there's a couple different kinds. I've seen definitely the clouded and the tawny on my plants at home, but their host plants are grasses. And their nectar plants are dogbane, purple coneflower, red clover, thistle, and like I said, tons of salvia. So the top 10 pollinator plants. I'll just read them off. Ironweed, goldenrod, aster, milkweed, but not curasavica, which is also tropical. Check your labels when buying because they kind of disguise the curasavica and you might see it in real small print, but do look for it because it's not good. They can be leads to problems with OE, which is the butterfly disease, and being not native, it's not the best thing. You want things like incarnata and tuberosa, just to name two of them. The flatwoods plum, lantana, but again, non-invasives, and any sterile varieties that you know they won't be spreading. Sunflowers, coral honeysuckle, that's a favorite of everybody, I think. Fakahatchee grass, and frog fruit. So we'll just take a quick look at some of my butterflies. On the left, I have the passion vine, host plant for the Gulf fritillary. There he is, or she rather, laying eggs. And in the picture on the right, there's the egg. That's taken extremely close up, but you can see them. They are visible if you take a good look. So, and then we see on the far left the caterpillar, and they look a little bit like the oleander caterpillar, which we'll talk about in a minute. But they're it's orange with black spikes, and we'll see on the oleander caterpillar that it's more like brush-like sticking out of them. So then the next one is the chrysalis, and it just looks like a dirty leaf. What's interesting is that they will move within that chrysalis. It's interesting to see. Then on the second from right is the closed butterfly. And you'll notice that stream of kind of rust-colored liquid. That's the meconium. When they first come out of chrysalis, their abdomens are very full and the wings are kind of folded up, but they climb out and then they pump that fluid that's in the abdomen into their wings, and it allows the wings to expand. When they're done with that process, they expel the excess meconium. And then there's another shot of him a little closer up, or her. She beautiful, beautiful butterfly. All right. Now this one's kind of fun. This is the black swallowtail. In the picture at the left, you can see the caterpillar. And then you see in the second picture a newly eclosed black swallowtail. And then you see where he landed after his first flight. Now, the picture in the middle, I hope you can see it. There's like a little pouch there made of paper towels. What happened with this particular chrysalis is that it had fallen off the tree, the stalk that it was adhered to. And I thought, well, that's not good because they need to be in a certain position. So with a little research, I found out that you can build them a sling or like a pouch-like thing, and it took 5 minutes. And just I pinned it to my enclosure and put him in it and came out one morning and there he was, and you can see the empty chrysalis still sitting in the pouch. It was like MacGyver for butterflies. It was so cool. So, and then he made it. He had a nice maiden flight and was off to his new adventures. And these are monarchs. You can see the chrysalis. And I'll talk a little bit about why I have some in enclosures. We'll talk about that in a minute. But you can see one caterpillar is crawling. He's ready to make his chrysalis. He's just about ready there. So he was able to stay in this enclosure with his fellow brethren. Here's one that I had released and he took off. And sometimes they won't go far, but they will hang in a tree for maybe 24 hours even until they feel ready. And there's some more. Now this one, the one on the left is a girl and the one on the right is a boy. The picture isn't great of the one with the boy. I had searched for a better one, but if you will look near the abdomen, you'll see two dots equidistant from each other. That's how you know it's a boy, because it will have those dots. The one on the left has no dots and it's thicker. One of some of the stripes are thicker than that. So, okay. Here he is, my favorite caterpillar. On the left, that is the giant swallowtail caterpillar, and he really does look like bird poop. And then you see the chrysalis looks like a dirty leaf. You wouldn't notice it, I don't think, if you were just out in your garden. And then there's the beauty when he pops out. It's just amazing. So now a little more about the birds and the bees, or the boys and the girls. But the top butterflies, if you look below the abdomen on the two top pictures, you will see two little claspers. That means it's a male because those claspers are there for mating. And you'll also notice that the two below are girls. They have no claspers, and they're about a third bigger than the males. So that's really cool. I haven't gotten really close enough to one that I've worked with to actually see this, but I am going to look next spring. Um, Cloudless sulfur. This was interesting to me just because I saw the butterfly deposit eggs. You can tell when they're depositing eggs because they kind of get their little butt up and under, and then the egg is dropped onto the plant. So I saw it doing it, but these eggs were so small that when I went to look, I almost gave up finding them. And so I brought in, I think, two that I thought, yeah, those might be eggs. And then I didn't see the eggs anymore. And I wondered what happened. So I look again in a couple of days and I see caterpillars. It was so exciting. If you look on the left picture, they blend into the leaves. Again, it's Mother Nature. That's a great protection for them in the wild. You can't see them. And so that was very neat. And then eventually they did their thing, did their chrysalis and emerged and went on their merry way. All right, before I talk about this guy, I will talk a little bit about the enclosures that I use and why I do what I do. The first year that I really was into butterflies, I had milkweed and I saw I think it was a paper wasp. I saw one kill a large caterpillar and it just gutted me. I just about cried. And I said, oh my gosh, I have to save them all. And my husband was my co-conspirator. And we set up a thing. And the first year was kind of rough. I didn't really know what I was doing, just that I wanted to help. But we did have some success stories. In fact, a good bit of success when you think about it. But I realized you can't save them all. You just can't. It becomes a real labor of love if you have, I bet I had 4 cages, maybe 10 cats to a caterpillars to a cage. And these guys eat and poop a lot. So with that many, I was cleaning constantly. And I did get one of those little desktop vacuum cleaners. It's a game changer with raising these things. You can just scoop it all up and you're done in 5 minutes. But it's also I'm not one of those folks, though, who will try to save them all because you can't. And if we are losing so much habitat and there's so many other things, does it make sense to try to raise 200 inside and release them, not knowing? So I like to do it now for just getting to know a few of them and learning more about them. Um, so that part of it for me is interesting. And this way, if I only do a couple of monarchs, I can do some fritillaries and dabble in the other stuff. But I do enjoy that connection with nature. And it's great to actually hold one on your finger and look in its eyes. It's just cool. So now this guy, a lot of people will come after me for this. This is the oleander caterpillar. And you can see he's similar to the fritillary, but he's got more brush-like, I forget what they call those things, but it's more brush-like. And his claim to fame is that he only eats oleander leaves. And they are toxic, toxic, toxic. No self-respecting bird, lizard, or anything will eat this guy because he's poisonous. So they don't really have a predator to come after them. So there can be lots of them. Um, they can be a nuisance. They won't kill your oleander, but they will defoliate it a good bit. Um, I'm not in love with my oleander plant that I have, so I've let them eat. And that was pretty cool. They do eat voraciously. Uh, they're very singular when they're caterpillars and eating. It's not like they're all hanging out in one place. They're all kind of all over. But when they crawl off the plant to make their cocoon, they are what's called gregariously cocooning. I didn't understand it at first, but one will go first and find a spot. He makes this cocoon and it's just like silk hairs. Then 2 days later, I see two more on top of it, and I think, what are they doing? But it's their instinct to do that together. So that's pretty cool. Now, these guys, obviously, I don't want to handle anything unless it's like in a closed butterfly that I won't have gloves on for. But I do wear gloves when I handle, especially these guys, because they can be a little nasty. But on the right, then, is the closed polka dot wasp moth. And his name is unfortunate because he's called a wasp, but he will not sting you. And he's so pretty. Oh, the picture does not do him justice. There's little red butt and a lot of iridescent green around the eyes. And they're pollinators, so I let them go. If you do want to eliminate them, I don't recommend the sprays, but you could wear gloves, hand pick them, and either soapy water or a Ziploc bag in the freezer to do it humanely. But I've let them live, and my oleander needs to be pruned anyway, so it's all good. It's all good. And this one is the one I am lusting after, and I will have in my yard hopefully next year. That's the caterpillar of the zebra longwing. And this is actually a picture from my house. It's not the best, but that was in my yard. So I know they're around. It's just a matter of adjusting where I position the host plant. So we'll talk a little bit about Zoe's mission. I don't know if many of you knew Becky Jordy. She had written this wonderful book called Zoe's Mission, and it was illustrated by a Master Gardener volunteer, Joanne Roach. And the book is available on IFAS, but it's basically children's to adults and tells how we can make it better for Zoe and her offspring. Basically, her goal is to lay her eggs and make a family. And she encounters along the way all kinds of hazards from civilization. But it's a great book to share with children and even adults alike. And we're at the end, so I can take some questions. Yes, ma'am.
So, do you have suggestions for night pollinators? Like
Oh,
for
moon
that stuff.
moonflowers. Moonflowers are great. Any of the white blooms, I'm trying to think what it's called. Is it dragon fruit? Dragon fruit, the night blooming cereus. Yeah, those are great. Those are great. Yes, sir.
Broke a whole bunch of rules that you have to
We all do at some point. Oh,
like not one here and there, but
Like dozens.
50 on the way to the mailbox. That's the drive.
Oh.
Yeah, I read up on it, like maybe
Mm.
in area.
Yeah,
So is there, but I don't want to now. Mess up.
right, right. What do you think? Yeah. Tell you what, leave us your email and we'll
Okay.
do some research to get you the right thing. Because, yeah, I understand you don't just want to be spraying poison, and they're probably way too much to put. You'd need a new freezer just for the. Yeah, give us your email and then we'll get back to you on that one. Seasonal.
It's like 8.
Oh,
It's a
they really like your house.
probably good stick.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, we'll do some research and get back to you on that one. And Robin, thanks for that reminder about the seasonal, because there is one other, the ground bees that come in the spring and people just want to nuke them. And no, don't, because they'll be gone in a couple of weeks and they won't hurt you. They don't sting. I can garden right along next to them and they don't care. They're doing their thing and I'm doing mine. So, and if you absolutely have to get rid of them, just use some water. Don't, unleash all the insecticides on them. But when I saw the